learned as a piano player all those years ago is that you got to keep practicing your skills. It's like one of the greatest pianists of all time, Archer Rubinstein, used to say that if he didn't practice his scales on a daily basis, he could tell the difference when he went to perform. And if he didn't practice, for 2 days, that not only could he tell, but his wife could tell. And he said if he didn't practice for 3 days, his audience could tell the difference. Now, I don't know if that's true, really, but it's what he felt was true. And I think, in a way that's true for me, too. I'm always practicing. I still write out sleight of mouth mind map things or icon representational chart things. I still write those out. I still write out scripts because the way I write them out in these little phrases. One of the things I learned from Dave Dobson is to, when you're doing hypnosis, be aware of the client's breathing and to mostly speak on their exhale.
Right.
And when you do that, you not only kind of create a rhythm, but you also, of course, are in a deep sense of rapport with the client because it's their breathing that you're pacing this to. But you also tend to have these kind of phrases, not whole sentences, that can allow you to shift gears at any given moment and use embedded commands by shifting your tonality. And it's important to shift your tonality if you want to do an embedded command, because without that, you're just making a suggestion. But when you use a tonality shift, it becomes much more commanding to a person, and their unconscious will respond to that. That's what I think.
Absolutely, and just from answering that question, I think a lot of people would be very interested in attending your Stories from the Outside In workshop. So I'll definitely put a link on that on the website.
That'd be great. It's a fantastic. I mean, it is so much fun. And Nick and I, we are always like, go, let's do this. Oh, let's do this. And there's so much that we want to do. We've actually expanded. The next time we're doing it in New York, we're going to do it over 2 weekends, and. Yeah, and the thing about storytelling is it's not just therapeutic. Everybody responds to stories. We think metaphorically, Like my wife is in Korea right now, and it's just noticed in conversation. I said, "Well, what's your room like?" Well, it's like it's like we're talking in metaphors. She's telling about her Korean hotel room. Well, it's just like the hotel we stayed in Seattle, but it's it's like. But it's this we speak for. If you don't know what a fruit's like, I don't know if have you ever had an ugly fruit?
No, I haven't actually. No.
Well, it's just like a pomegranate, but it's chewy. So I would describe it in a certain way. I've never had one either, actually, so I don't think it's anything like a pomegranate. But I would describe it that it's like this, with this exception, or it's like a banana that tastes like an orange, or we speak in metaphors, and this is true for businesses. This is true for therapists. I mean, this is true for anybody. Sports people. They're analogies. I was watching this show about Jimmy Johnson, who was the coach for the Dallas Cowboys, his American football team. His motivational talk before the Super Bowl, which is a big, the final championship game for the particular sport, and his sort of motivational talk before they went out on the field to play this game was all metaphors. Not only that, he had a physical metaphor. He took a board and put it across the floor and said, "Okay, guys, walk across this board. Everybody do that. It's a little easy, very simple. Okay, now imagine that board is 80 feet up in the air. It's the same board. You could walk across it just as easily, but how many people would have a different experience doing that? If you slipped, you'd die. It would make it different, wouldn't it? It's the same board, though. What's the difference between this game and any other game you've played this year? There's, a national television, an international television audience watching. But it's the same thing you've been doing all year. You go out there, you do your job, you play the game the way you've been doing it all this year long, you're going to be fine. You're going to come home as champions. So it's a metaphor. Metaphors work across context. So one of the things we're going to be offering, if you will, in this next Stories from the Outside In class is how to make stories useful in business contexts.
Right. Okay.
You know, businessmen, salesmen, you know, anybody will benefit from telling a good and effective story.
Brilliant. And you mentioned earlier on about there being multiple versions of Ericksonian hypnosis, but in your eyes, for someone wanting to get really skilled in NLP and Ericksonian hypnosis, what do you think are the most important aspects that they really need to spend time on? Obviously, one will be storytelling, which you've mentioned here, but what kind of the other things that you would say are important?
Well, I think, you know, like I said, you know, skills are all important. Storytelling, language patterns, really understanding how beliefs are structured. I find sleight of mouth to be absolutely critical in my own personal understanding of people's belief systems and how to shift them from one to another. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it comes down to you're dealing with individuals. When you work with a client, you know, it's in a sense all the technique should go out the window. It's not about doing a particular technique. It's about interfacing with that creature over there, that person over there, that individual over there. Erickson said, you know, everybody is as individual as their own thumbprint. So it isn't about, you know, doing a great technique. It's about talking with that person, noticing their patterns, helping to, you know, shift their patterns from one thing to another, to interrupt those patterns in an elegant way and help them and lead them to a better way of operating in the world. But it is really that awareness of the other individual that's the most important thing.
Brilliant. Okay. And obviously, when you're in practice, there's the skill building, but there's also the business side of it. If you want to stay in that business of therapy, and if you were to give someone starting out looking to start up in a practice, what are maybe like 3 pieces of advice you would give them that would increase their chances of success in building a client base?
Well, first of all, don't expect to be wildly successful overnight. It's going to take a process of building, and it takes a while to really build.
So Doug, am I not going to earn 6 figures in 28 days then? Surely not.
6 figures of what?
6 figures of money.
Yeah. Where's the decimal point in there? Chances are slim. Yeah, I had a client once, a student once, who took my NLP certification course and then took my hypnosis certification course and Erickson hypnosis certification. And not that I'm really qualified to do that, but nevertheless, took my class and then quit her job because she figured, okay, I'm certified. I'm ready to go. And I hate my job, so I'm now doing this. This is my job. I'm a therapist. And she, you know, put the ads in the papers and the yellow pages and, you know, made the flyers and put them around different places and sat and waited for her phone to ring. And she waited a really, really long time for her phone to ring. Poor dear. Yeah, it just...
There must be something wrong with the phone.
Yeah, right. 2-3 months later, she went begging back to her old job to see if she could get her job back. You know, there's nothing wrong with starting, but don't quit your job just yet. You may have to be working extra hard for a while, you know, doing both for a bit. You know, I taught piano lessons for the first 5 years that I was doing therapies with people. I still played music. I still performed. I still, you know, played in bars and played parties. And I mean, I was a musician who did therapy on the side for 5 years. Okay. And even while I was a master trainer for Tony Robbins during that period of time. I got a lot of referrals. I got a lot of people coming to me, but I didn't quit the other thing. I think that most businesses, frankly, these days, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to kind of have multiple streams of income.
Right.
If you rely on any one of them, then it's getting risky to rely on any one stream of income.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, don't quit your day job and start doing therapy. And